This is the first part of our Dreamcatcher project. And what I've done is I've taken my piece of watercolor paper, I have taped it down, and that tape is going to be provided. It probably will not look like this tape, but I have all different kinds. You will cover part of your paper, and that's going to create kind of a nice border around it. What you're then going to do is take a crayon or whatever I've provided. It'll be white. You're not going to see it. What we're going to do is create the moon and the stars to make a night sky. So pay attention to what you're doing because you won't really be able to see it. I'm going to put my moon up here, and the moon I'm going to make is just a crescent moon. So it's sort of a C. And then the stars are really easy. You don't have to know how to draw stars. All you do is you make little dots. Press hard, but not so hard that you break whatever your little wax crayon is. And I say wax. We're using wax, we're using oil pastels, we're using just these writing utensils that are going to resist the watercolor, and that's what we're using to paint. The paint will not be able to write on these little dots that we're making. Okay, so you just put a bunch down. I don't even know exactly where they ended up, but we'll see when we put our paint down. And the next part is to take a little bit of water. Now you don't want your paintbrush to be soaking wet, but, and I've used this paintbrush before, so there's a little teeny bit of paint left in it. It may or may not show up on the paper, but either way is fine. I'm squeezing the water out, and I'm just gonna kind of paint on here so that I have a little wetness on the paper. And you know, the easiest way to tell if you're getting enough on is kind of leaning over in different directions, and you'll see the reflection. And you can even take your hand and kind of spread that out if it's getting too wet. You just want a little bit of shine on there. You don't want it to be soaking wet. All right, so now that paper is slightly damp, and I'm not gonna need a whole lot of paint for this next part. And you can make your own sky the way that you wanna do it. Now, the way that I do it is, you know, I've actually done it a few different ways, and this is the way I'm gonna do it today. I'm gonna put a little bit of purple on, and I'm gonna do the middle of the paper with the purple. I'm just gonna spread it across. And you'll see those stars start to pop up. And I'm gonna let it kind of fade down here. I'm gonna reload my brush with a little more purple and pull it up now. I do wanna make sure I'm getting all the way to the end. And I want more purple. Now I'm gonna start from the top with this purple. I'm gonna put more on to make it darker. Go all the way across. And you can see these stars are starting to show up, and there's the moon. I'm gonna make it a little darker up at the top. And now the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put in some blue. I'm starting to get it it's a little too wet now. You can see where it's pooling. So I wanna make sure I don't have too much water on my paintbrush now. Scoop up some of that blue. And I'm adding globs of blue here. We do want it to be darker up at the top. And then I'm going to start pulling it across. And I want to get rid of that blue at this point. So I'm putting it in the water. I'm going to squeeze it out. If you have a paper towel, you can dab on that. I'm just going to not put any paint on. I'm just pulling this down to kind of blend it. And now I'm going to come down here. Again, I want to make sure I'm not leaving any white that I don't want. I'm going to let that dry, and then we can, while we're waiting for it to dry, we're going to move on to the next part.